What is up, my friends? Here's another video. Just a lazy Sunday afternoon. I thought I would do a just kind of a blocking in of a sculpt here. Here I have my little dowel that I can hang on to. I've of course sharpened it, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of start working on this little sculpt here. Figured I'd show you guys kind of how I do this. So I'm just going to kind of start by very carefully inserting the clay onto the dowel. You do not want to jab your hands with that nice sharp stick, because that would suck. That would not be enjoyable. So let's see here. I got some of my tools here I'm gonna attempt to work with to kind of start spreading some of this stuff out. And I'm debating on using a piece of wire. I've got my little armature wire here, which I may end up using to give me some stability here, because this clay does get a little wobbly. So you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and nip that in the bud right now. And this ought to do. You'll have to excuse the mess. I'm an artist, so that's what happens, I suppose. Such a cluster. Okay, so that's going to be a little much, so I'm going to go ahead and bend this over. Pinch this off here. I'm just looking for some neck support. So that should work. Huh? And I'm just going to go ahead and insert this in. And that will give me a little bit of support. And I can always go back in with a toothpick or something, or another piece of wire if I really need to. Now let's just hope I didn't set myself up for failure with the placement of the mouth. If I wanted to have a mouth open, don't want to hit that wire that I just put in there. Oh, and my dowel just fell out. Go figure. Gonna just kind of try to taper this down a little bit. For some reason this clay doesn't want to adhere to this. And let's see. Better get rid of my paint so I don't put the paint down inside of it, or set my clay down on there. So I got my rake here. I'm just going to kind of start to shape the clay. And actually, I've decided that I don't think I'm going to have that mouth open. Let's see here. Been having a lot of fun working with this Sculpey. It's been a long time since I've worked with this stuff, and I've done a couple of new pieces already that I had a lot of fun working on. Go ahead and start to kind of shape the mouth. thinking I'm going to probably have some teeth in here somewhere. And let me kind of start blocking my head shape in a little more. Wish I had a... This isn't my normal sculpting tool that I use, but this will do for now. Okay. Giving myself some eye sockets. And I should probably get myself a start of a nose. You know what? That one's not my favorite, so I'm not going to use that. Okay. And I'm jump back into my rake here to kind of smooth up this clay, give it a little bit more form. It's funny, when I work with this Super Sculpey Firm, it's nowhere near as firm as I remember it being, which is interesting because I guess, and maybe that's not so much the case because I work with Chavant Medium, and that stuff is pretty firm, and then you get to Chavant Hard, and I mean that stuff is, you know, using a chisel to to carve with it. It's pretty intense stuff as far as firmness goes. So there we kind of start seeing the head form taking shape. And let's see here. So I'll give him a little bit of a forehead. Have to build up the top of his noggin. And there goes that dag-blasted wooden dowel. You believe that? Knew I shouldn't have used that wooden dowel. Guess I'll give myself something to hang on to, and I'll insert this wire up in there. What do you think of that? This gives me something to hold on to, but for some reason this stuff just does not want to adhere to this today. Normally I would be doing a tinfoil filler, and I think that's where it would help with the stabilization of the clay on this piece, but I do not have any clay support in there, or yeah, tinfoil support for the clay. So we're just gonna do what we can with what we got here, because I don't want to have to restart now. So okay. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of place some ears on here. Ears are always tricky. A lot of artists are not fans of ears, because you have to they worry about symmetrics and getting everything lined up, and I feel their pain. And technically this could be moved back a little bit. Throw another little ear on there. That's why I like doing mutants. You know what I mean? Like, there's no rhyme or reason, really. I mean, I could make a, you know, a really twisted, you know, mutant, and he could just not have any proper shapes or whatever. I could just totally mess his ears up and mess his symmetrics up. I always like to look down on the top of the sculpt to see if those ears are lined up and in the proper shapes. That always is kind of a reference. It's funny, sometimes you get so focused on sculpting something from this angle, and you totally ignore say this angle, which this is going to tell you a lot too about the cheekbones being in the, see, like this one's set back, this one's, hopefully you can see this, this one's set back, this one is too far facially, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of knock that down a little bit. I may have to do some editing there to get that into frame for y'all if I get out of frame. This GoPro is sometimes hard to read, so if I'm in frame or not. Okay. Oops. Drop the clay. Just going to add a little bit of a chin. And it's funny because my mind races all over this sculpture, or any piece that I do, really. I see one thing and then I have to try to get, you know, stay focused on it, and then I'll get sidetracked and see the top of the head needs work, or I'll be working on the eyes and see that there's an issue with the ears, or so I'm jumping all over the place, and it kind of lends to missing certain things if I'm not careful. If that makes any sense. Anybody out there that's an artist might understand what I'm talking about. You see one area and then get sidetracked with something different. go ahead and give myself a little bit more of a chin here to work with. It's another thing to keep in mind too when you're working on a sculpture with this clay, especially with this clay, because like I said, it's not as firm as I remember it being. If you hang on to it in a certain spot, your hands will eventually warm it up, and then it'll start to push and smear. So you lose a lot of detail if you're not careful. Of course, I guess that's why there's the wire. But eventually, I have to hang on to the sculpture to get to certain parts. So I always try to tread light, tread light. Okay. So now I'm going to start shaping the neck form a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of start building out his shoulders a touch. Just kind of put a little build up the traps. So there's his windpipe. That's the back of the occipital ridge. Start to shape up that the trap muscle. Okay, now we're gonna give a little shape to these clavicles here. It's taking a little bit of shape now, huh? Yeah, I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of shape here. Clean this area up. And I guess what I could do is get, if I wanted to get a little more in depth and do a little bit better of a job of structuring, I could break out an anatomy book and, you know, kind of look and see, you know, what goes where and all this. So right now this is just from memory, so I'm just kind of trying to shape something up here, give it a little bit of form. Something to work with. This is just an example of how I bulk up a sculpture that I'm going to be working on. So always good to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Yeah, so anyway, this is my little tiny video here on bulk waxing, bulk sculpting up a head and neck and a little bit of the shoulders. Hope everybody's enjoyed this little video. It's just been kind of a lazy Sunday, so I figured I would just throw the old GoPro on and do a quick little sculpt here of kind of what I do to put together the human form. So, and then of course, is you know, I could always just change this up, and I could, you know, turn it into a zombie. I could turn it into a mutant. I could do a clown. So, yeah, it could just, the sky's the limit from here. So, yeah. That's what I know. So anyway, thank you guys so much for checking this video out. I appreciate it. You can also check me out over on Instagram, Toby Wayne Studios on Instagram over there. I'd appreciate the follow. And yeah, so you guys are awesome. Until the very next video, I will see you guys later.